Hey guys, I hope you're on the couch because you're about to be thoroughly psychoanalyzed.
If you ask 100 atheists why they don't believe in God, most of them will say that it's because there is no evidence for God's existence. But even if that is so, it doesn't differentiate atheism from agnosticism.
In some cases it does. Many atheists believe that what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. A lack of evidence doesn't prove the non-existence of God, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't warrant the belief that no God exists. Believing that no God exists is clearly distinct from agnosticism.
The reasons that atheists give for their atheism could be given by agnostics for their agnosticism. Suppose there was literally no evidence for the existence of God. For example, that people weren't even aware of the concept of God. It's possible for both God to exist and for there to be no evidence of his existence. It could be that God exists, but has kept himself hidden. In that case, we wouldn't know that he exists, but he would exist all the same, and thus theism would be true. Since atheism and theism can't both be true, a complete lack of evidence for God's existence doesn't justify atheism.
It doesn't prove that there is no God, but a belief does not have to be proven to be warranted. Even if it were the case that a God could exist without leaving evidence, this does not mean that this lack of evidence doesn't justify atheism. Beliefs can be unproven but warranted. This guy seems to think that beliefs have to be proven to be warranted.
Otherwise, what's the difference between atheism and agnosticism?
Atheists dispute how that label ought to be properly used. Some see agnostics as being a kind of atheist, others see them as distinct. If we apply Gary Edwards' definition of an atheist, which is someone who believes that the odds of a god's existence are less than 50%, I think it would make sense to say that agnostics are people who believe that the odds of a god's existence are exactly 50%.
One of the most popular arguments against the existence of God is the problem of evil.
Not only is this not one of the most popular arguments against the existence of a god, it's not an argument against the existence of God at all.
The problem of evil attempts to demonstrate the incompatibility of evil and the existence of an all-good, all-powerful God. If the deductive version of the problem of evil is valid, it doesn't establish God's non-existence.
It's not intended to.
The conclusion of the argument is not, God does not exist, but God cannot both be all-good and all-powerful. It's possible that God exists, but that he's not all-good or all-powerful, or both, and so his existence is not incompatible with evil. There is no requirement that God must be all-good and all-powerful. None of the Christian creeds contain the words all-powerful and all-good, or their surrogates, and all sorts of deities have been invoked by religions and philosophers down the ages.
It's quite refreshing to see an apologist admit this, but my response is the same as Epicurus's. If he's neither all-good nor all-powerful, why call him God?
So an agnostic could agree that the problem of evil is valid, but that God might exist. The only way to define atheism in a manner that would differentiate it from agnosticism is to define it as the affirmation of God's non-existence. For if God does not exist, then theism is false. This way, atheists are asserting something different than agnostics about God. They are claiming that God doesn't exist, while agnostics are claiming not to know whether he exists.
Atheists can admit that they don't know that no God exists, while simultaneously believing that no God exists. A belief does not have to be proven to be warranted. Theists of all people should understand this.
I believe the trajectory from believer to atheist goes something like this. The atheist is raised in a religious environment.
I wasn't. My parents believed in God, but we did nothing that would resemble the practice of religion.
This could mean that he was raised by religious parents, or lived in a religious community, or had religious friends, or all of the above.
None of the above in my case.
Over the course of his life, he witnesses apparently religious people committing sins without showing any outward signs of guilt or struggle.
Nope, don't recall that.
The churchgoers who openly lie and sabotage other people do so because it pays off. Their social status is enhanced only because their behavior is rewarded by other church members. This must lead some people to become atheists. They observe the high standing these hypocritical churchgoers enjoy and conclude that religion is purely social. They come to believe that religion exists to fulfill a communal need, but no one really believes in it.
I've never come to that conclusion. I think most theists really do believe in their religion.
They feel let down by religion. They wanted to believe that religion was true, but the pride and abuse of other church members destroy their faith.
I'm sure this probably caused some people to question the teachings of their religion, but how widely do you think this explanation applies? There are plenty of atheists who have no hostility to religion at all. You seem to think that atheism is always motivated by bitterness and hostility.
I'm aware of other reasons non-believers might have for being hostile to religion. They might see religion as an obstacle to progress, by which is usually meant whatever deviant behavior the left is pushing at the moment.
Yes, deviant behavior like teaching actual science in science classes. In most cases, I'm not interested in pushing any kind of behavior. Rather, I stand against the hateful behavior that the theocrats are pushing. Behavior like forcing women to give birth against their will, or treating gay folks like their sexuality is a disease, and forcing them through the Burgessian torture of conversion therapy. That's the kind of behavior that deserves to be called deviant.
As for the atheists, I'm not sure what can be done to quell their anger. They may be damaged for life.
Well, my anger has been significantly reduced over the last few years, because gay marriage is legal in more places than ever before. The Supreme Court struck down the draconian laws imposed upon abortion clinics, and fewer public schools are teaching creationism as though it were an actual science. My animosity toward the church ladies who wag their fingers at atheists and gay folks is not due to their hypocrisy. It's not due to the fact that they don't follow their own rules. It's because they try to force everyone else to follow their rules.